Hello and welcome to another edition of Bob's Poker Party. Okay, so if you saw my video about multi-table tournaments and the bubble play and all of that, I made 750. And if you didn't see that, then ignore my last comment. Anyway, the main thing that we should take from that is you can have a really good strategy, which most of the things I was telling you, if you read up on um, poker forums, that's what you should be playing. If you watch players who know what they're doing, which I've done, and you read books, which I've done, that's what you should be doing. But I made one mistake, and you saw how quickly I got punished for it. So we have King Queen now. We're back to a little triple up here. Um, Again, I'm just trying to build a bankroll. We're getting into late, is a kind of a early middle position, so we can raise with King Queen offsuit. If we get a re-raise, it's automatic fold. We don't want to play around with a hand that could be dominated, because a re-raise can signify ace king, ace queen. Now here we're going to take a shot at it, because this is a good flop. It's dry. If he doesn't get hit, then he's not going to play. If he raises, he's happy about his hand. We don't need to worry about it. Oh, he caught his 10. Happy 10. We can take that into consideration. Queen Jack is not. See, we're one place closer. We're under the gun +1 with a Queen Jack. King 10 is not a hand I would call with. Even on the dealer button, King 10 offsuit against a hand like or against an early middle position raise, because generally those hands are going to have you beat. And again, we're not going to take the flop and go, woe is me, I didn't play my hand correctly because I would have caught the flop, because you can do that anytime you catch anything. And notice, even though we've got two pair, you had a straight draw with that. Straight draw comes with that two pair, and there's a flush draw on the board. So it's still a hand we could end up losing a lot of money, or in this case, we get our Queen Jack and we make a small profit because he's not calling with a bunch of stuff. Now we do want to see what this guy raised with in early position or early middle. He raised with 10-9 offsuit. So this is information, and honestly, he should have been more aggressive on the flop. Although the guy had a jack, but he has an opportunity there to raise and maybe take the pot. He doesn't know, if this guy who bets 20, when somebody bets the minimum after they've called a raise, generally that indicates a loose passive player who doesn't have much of a hand. And so there's an opportunity. We're going to tag one as loose passive, and this is preliminary information. We're going to see if that holds up over time. We're going to tag 7 as probably loose passive as well, at least pre-flop, and see how things pan out, see if we were right. Okay, so we got a limp in on the button. This is a passive play, so we've got the passive part we're showing, and we're just going to check, because we don't have any reason to be betting there, because we're probably going to get called by our loose passive friend, who has already called once when he faced a raise on the small blind. So he called for 40. And he raised to 30 there. He bet 30, whereas before, when he had middle pair, he bet 20 into a pot of about 100. So in that case, I would think he had a better hand than he had with the middle pair, with a weak middle pair with a jack. So let's say, let's see what the flop came. There was a king on the flop. Maybe he caught his king. I'm thinking. Probably a weak king because he's not raising pre-flop. But sometimes people can be kind of tricky and try to trap you early. Now this is very early in the tournament. If we start to see a pattern of limp, 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 then we can start to employ the small blind, lower the boom play. Your cards are independent of this play. When you get a lot of limpers coming into a pot, your only consideration is for the big blind. He might have a hand. Otherwise, you're likely going to have it folded around if you raise the pot. And so you just take an opportunity when you haven't acted in a lot of places. It's a very high risk play because somebody could call you and now you're in a pot that you're in a pretty big pot. But it's a good play later on in the tournament before the blinds get too high, where you can risk about a fifth of your stack or something like that for a big reward. And so we'll see if we can set up that opportunity, or they're going to set it up for us, and if we can take advantage of it. We just have to see when people limp in and somebody raises behind, do we end up seeing the folds? And if somebody is totally willing to limp in and then call behind when somebody raises big, they are the worst type of loose passive player for that, because they're not going to fold. They're like, hey man, I just want to see a flop, man. I mean, how cheap can I see this flop? I just want to see it. So he's been a little bit more aggressive, but I mean, he's played like 4 of the hands that we've seen so far. You can see he won this one, won this one, won this one, won this one. And we can see that he's a pretty aggressive loose player. But he's on the passive side of aggressive because he's not raising enough to make people really fold unless they're like, especially the big blind. Just a regular raise is going to give him 3.5 to 1 odds to call. He can call with just about any 2 cards unless he thinks you have an overpair. So that's a thing. We'll have to watch him. When he gets callers, he goes back to his kind of passive mode. Okay. Now, we don't have to take advantage of this information right now. If you have, the only time you really have to worry about taking advantage of the information is when you have like a super wild aggressive player. Which, by the way, we're going to start pegging 5 as a tighter, more passive player because he folded on the big blind to a minimum raise. And then he folded the small blind as well. Okay, and you're just seeing a lot of limp passive play. We're going to take advantage of that later. Not right now. The main thing in a tournament early on is to play tight, take advantage of any value situations that come your way. The blinds aren't high enough to really force you to make any moves at all, and you can wait for your aces, your kings, your ace-king, or your really good position with a suited ace. You don't have to be playing every hand trying to make stuff happen, because pretty much all that happens, I mean, you could get lucky and hit a big hand and make all your money, but if you're playing weird cards like Jack 3, what are you hoping for? Jack, Jack 3? And then how are you going to get paid off on that? Because who else is going to have a piece of that flop? Who else is going to be calling when you make your bets with your super huge monster? Well, maybe one. We'll see. I mean, it depends on how loose and passive people are. And in these tournaments, you could have some people that you'll double up if they get top pair and you have a full house or something like that. Or even like they'll double you up with middle pair. But you can't expect that. You can't count on it. And therefore, there's no reason to be playing those cards. unless you have a really, really good reason to do it. Um, so later on in the tournament, if the blinds are up really high and you've got really tight passive players and you have 3 deuce suited and it gets folded around to you and you have 10 big blinds left, shove all day with that, because these guys are folding a lot and you don't want the blinds to eat you up. So you have 2 very good reasons to make that play. Whereas early in the tournament, you wouldn't even limp with 3 deuce offsuit or 3 deuce suited, even if you're in the dealer button, because you don't have that kind of valuation. Now, when you get queens, you take that hand and you go all the way with it. Pre-flop, you check a flop and see what happens. But if somebody's re-raising or something like that, you're gonna just play this hand really aggressively. And the last thing we hope for is an ace. Okay, we didn't get our ace, so we're going to bet 120. Might want to bet a little bit more because there's a flush draw, but we don't have to worry too much about it. There's your ace. So now we check. We see what 5 is. And 5, remember, he folded to a min bet when he was on the big blind, so it's more likely he has an ace, but he doesn't. So the question is, do we have a hand that will pay us off? Like, he might have a weak ace, he might have a 10, but he's going to pay us off with a 10 now. So we're just going to check. If he bets, we're probably going to call. See? He is tight passive. He didn't re-raise with aces. Notice we're using that information. Against 1, I would have bet again in a heartbeat, because he's likely to call with inferior holdings. He gets a piece of something, he's going to go, woo, yeah! But 5 has top pair, and he's like, I don't know here, guys. I don't know. I think I should check the end. He's checked to me twice, but man, he could just be really super trapping me. I don't know what's going on. I'm freaking out, man. I'm freaking out. So, if he ever bets at us, we're definitely calling every time, right? No. We are going to fold. Fold, fold, fold. We have top pair. He bets at us. We fold. Now, on the other hand, we have Mr. Limp on the dealer button, or actually limp under the gun, all the way down to the dealer button. It's a good time to raise this. I actually saw an interesting article the other day that says if you're in under the gun +1 and you have ace queen and this guy limps, you should fold. And it was really well explained. I thought it was really interesting because, okay, this guy limps. Actually, and he had a short enough stack to call any raise you might make. But the main thing is when this guy limps, ace queen's value goes down quite a lot, because you've got so many players left to act. If you end up in a pot with 2 other players, so if you raise and then you get a call and this guy calls, you have no idea where you stand when that flop comes. There's just so many hands that are drawing out. Ace queen isn't. The odds go way down. Ace queen is a hand you want to play against one other person, and so the idea is just eliminate the complication. That's all you have to do. So you just fold it in that situation, and I was really interested in that logic and the argument. So we've got queen 9. And this guy is tight passive. In this case, we have a good reason to raise, especially if he went and looked at our holdings on the last hand. He's going to be more likely to fold. This is the guy that we're going to be seeing if we can take chips from throughout the tournament, if we have the opportunity. Queen 9 offsuit is not a hand I would normally raise in the dealer button early on in a tournament. But it is a hand in that situation that works because the big blind is such a tight passive player. So there's a set game that you play, which is early on in the tournament. You want to play tight. And then there's the adjustments that you make to find situations to just take a couple of chips here and there. If you have an opportunity, um, and watch, this guy's going to show down a pretty good hand. He's well, I don't know, but I'm thinking he's going to show down an interesting hand. Now he might fold now, yeah. But I mean, he had like a queen or something in his hand. Um, Probably a hand that most people would raise with in the small blind, and instead he checked down to the river and lost a small pot because of that. So we've got Jack 9, and what we're going to do here is we're just going to limp in. We're in later position. You might want to be here with Jack 9, but since this guy already limped, it gives us even better odds because we got more guys coming in. If we have 600 in our stack, that gives us 20 big blinds that we have the opportunity to make. So we're getting 40 to 1 on our money if we hit a monster. Right now, not very interested in this hand. We're getting 6 to 1 on our money here, and we can get 3 more or 4 more bets if we make our gut shot straight draw. So if we were in the pot with 2 by ourselves, we could call this. With 4 left to act, 6 and 7 having checked, but still in the hand, we're going to be folding. See, there's your check raise. And then we'd have to call 60, and in that case we only have 5 to 1, and now we got to make 5 more bets of 60. Plus we're kind of behind on the first bet we called of 30, so we got 4 of those in order to make that hand profitable. Now the second bet you would regard as independent of the first bet, so you would say on the second bet I still have to make, oh, there's a set. Now see, in that case, if we catch our hand, we can expect to double up. But we don't know he has pocket 2s. Now after he raises, so you have the check and then the raise, it was such a light check raise, that indicates a very strong hand. So he should be talking about at least top pair, top kicker. To raise with that small of a raise, he's looking at a 2 pair or a set. Now that doesn't always mean that they're doing that, but especially at this level, if somebody check raises, it's usually a very strong hand. So even though the strength of the hand indicates that we might get paid off if we hit our gut shot, we're in such a nasty place to actually do that. You got 10 to 1 odds on any one street, and we can only expect if we call, let's say we call off that 30, then we call off that 60, we are facing another bet on the turn, and so we can only say I have to hit my card right now, or I have to face another bet that I can't call. So it's just best to fold there. Probably a few of the biggest mistakes that beginning poker players make involve playing too many hands and drawing in too many ways and not understanding the math of when you should be drawing and why you should be drawing. You should be drawing with the expectation that you're either getting the right odds in terms of the pot odds. So if you're drawing to a flush, you need 4 to 1 odds. Or if you hit your hand, you are likely enough to make that back plus a small profit. You don't want to end up breaking even on that bet. You want to have the opportunity to make a small profit. And so, like, let's say you have a flush draw and somebody bets half of the pot. Well, now you're getting 3 to 1 odds to call. Those are pretty good odds because you can make that 4th bet back later if you hit your flush. If you're in position, you even have a better thing, because let's say it's on the flop and this guy raised pre-flop and he's playing against me. I'm in position, so I called him behind. I'm on the dealer button, and he raised pre-flop. I catch my flush draw. He bets on the flop, and I call. A lot of times, he's just betting to see if I'm interested in the hand. And even if a blank comes, he's like, I don't have a hand. I just bet. He called. I don't know what's going on. And when he checks, you bet, he folds. That's called a float. I know that's a little bit intricate, the action that I just described, but you can use those draws as a weapon to give you other options. You can stay in the hand so that you can hit your draw. You can stay in the hand so that you can bluff him out, and either way you win the pot. Now if you hit your draw, you have a chance to win a big pot, but you still have that option to bail out and take a small pot once he's checked on the turn. And so when you're in position, you can often call against the odds, because that call also confuses your opponent. And especially in situations where you weren't the aggressor pre-flop, so you're let's say you're on the dealer button and somebody raises pre-flop and you call, and then you hit, let's say, a gut shot. So you've got a gut shot straight draw and he bets into you. Sometimes you can take that as an opportunity, especially if he's more loose and more aggressive, to just call and do what I call the float, and what's generally called a float, and see what he does on the turn. Because a lot of those loose aggressive players, they just run out of steam if they're, they hit you once, they hit you twice, and they're not a lot of times going to be able to fire another barrel on the turn. Plus, there's that added shade of opportunity where you can hit that gut shot on the turn, and he's really, really in a tough spot. And then, even better, let's say that you don't hit your gut shot on the turn, he runs out of steam. A lot of times he'll check to you, and you end up checking and taking 2 free cards. So there's a lot of different dynamics to the hand where you're calling in position to hit something where you may not have the odds to call, but you also don't know what his hand is. The hand hasn't really played out yet, so you use it as a weapon to extend the hand and see, maybe you can hit your draw on the turn, maybe you can hit it on the river, maybe you can win it with a bluff. You got a lot of different ways that you can win the hand. That's using your draws effectively. Using your draws ineffectively would be like the Mr. Loose Passive. I'm out of position. I limped in pre-flop. Somebody raises on the dealer button. Of course I'm going to call because I have Jack 9 suited. I mean, that's the hand. And the flop comes and I've got my gut shot straight draw. Don't have a single heart on the board. Don't have a single of my suit on the board, but I've got my gut shot. I'm going to check. He bets 3/4 of the pot. I think I'm going to hit my gut shot. I really feel it. I'm just feeling it here. I'm going to call. Okay, I didn't hit my gut shot. Okay, I'm going to check again. He just bet the pot. And I think that feeling was more for the, see, I've got runner straight flush here. I should be calling all day, right? No. Anyway, so that's one of those places where you shouldn't be drawing and you shouldn't be using your draws. What you should be doing instead, use them as a weapon and use them with the math. The thing is, on any one hand, you can play completely ridiculous, terrible poker and hit runner 4 once you get your money all in against aces, and it's post flop. And Jack Queen 8 comes, he goes all in, and you're like, I don't think he has it. I'm just going to call with 9-4. And you can actually suck out, hit not 4-4, and you can make money on that hand. The problem with that is, it's like playing roulette, except you don't get paid off. See, roulette, the odds are a little bit on the house, but that's like playing roulette for 50-50. You know, like playing roulette, only when you hit that roulette wheel, bam, 32, and you get paid like $5 and you bet $3 or something. I mean, it's just the analogy is pretty astounding. We got this limper guy. We've got great pot odds. We've got a king. It's suited. We're gonna limp. We're gonna see what happens. Nothing happened. Now, if he checks, we're gonna check again. We're gonna check again. Might have been a place where we could lead out with a bet there, but we're very first to act. I'd be more likely to play that like check 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 if I'm in the big blind there, and then the small blind checks just like he did. That doesn't mean he doesn't have a hand there, but I'd be more likely to bet in that situation. Um, so he took a shot and he got the pot. Whether or not he wanted us to call, let's say he had a 9, he might be weeping right now, you know, crying into his bowl of oatmeal. I was going to say frosted oats. I don't even know what that is, but the main thing is he could be like, oh, I got trip 9s and they didn't call me big blind special. Um, it would be much better for him if we called, but we don't know that. We can say that in this position, in this specific place, this guy made this move. In which case, if we end up in that situation again and we have a hand, we can check again and we can see if he makes that same move. Oh, we missed that hand. I'm thinking 6 is tight aggressive. We should really be paying attention more to what's going on. Let's see. We're at 25.50, so with our stack sizes, we can limp in with our little 5-8. Okay, so let's see what happened here. Under the gun has ace queen, and let's limp in and keep looking. And he just limps in. Okay, so he just limps in with ace queen. Turn, check. Bet of 50. Last time that indicated top pair. We don't know if that indicates it now, but since we have absolute squadouche, we're going to go ahead and not draw to the runner spade flush. Let's see. Ace comes on the river, so he bets. Small blind calls. And then the ace comes and he bets and gets a call. So he's kind of passive. I mean, I would have raised pre-flop with the queen, with the ace queen, under the gun. So, and with that thought, we are going to take a short break. All right, I am quite glad that that break did not last very long. Let's see what one does. He limped in, and there's a call. Now we're gonna bet 225. This is a continuation bet. It's a rainbowy board. It's not very well coordinated. He calls. Now we're just gonna check. Yeah. I don't know what he has, but it's most likely better than us. So we're gonna ditch out of this hand. Now we are in shove fold territory. Oh, now we're definitely in shove fold territory. This is when we kick it into high gear. We just had a rough hand later in the last blind level, and we are in a place where we have 6 big blinds. By the time we get around, past these 2 blinds right here, we're going to be down to 540, which is 5.5 big blinds. So we have almost 7 right now, but pocket eights is 2. Do they play a lot of hands? Do they play a lot of hands? No. Well, doesn't matter. Once we've already got a razor, pocket eights is no longer good. It's too bad. It was a perfect shoving hand, unlike the hand that I had in the last tournament, which I will not mention because it was very sad to me. I'm very sad right now. I'm sad about it. But the interesting thing is pocket eights would have had the same end result, unless I don't know if the board might have changed things. I know what the result was with the other hand that I will not mention. But it would have been a better play. So I don't know exactly. Take that for what you will. Obviously pocket eights is better than pocket threes, but it's still just as much worse than some other hands. Okay, if we get a raise here, we're gonna go all in because this guy's technically we should be folding here, but 6 big blinds, it is what it is. Okay, that's a good place. No club. Okay, there we go. I mean, sevens is, really we got lucky there. That was not what you would call plus EV. It's our estimated valuation. He's going to be calling with just about anything because we don't have enough to make him fold. And here, normally we want a stack that's 20 times larger than the bet we want to call. So 50, we're at 1330. This guy has enough. This guy has enough. So if we flop a good flop, we can draw. If we flop a monster flop, we can bet. If we don't, we can get out, and we got out cheap. So that's the theory behind those suited connectors there. So anyway, more often, I mean, we're always going to be playing a hand out there, and that's the problem. Is we're sitting there trying to fight for our tournament life. Here we've got 13 big blinds. We can go all in with any ace, especially this guy's passive. Now, it's interesting because usually when you get to 50, 100, you've had somebody knocked out. And what that indicates is that this is a more passive tournament. People are not sitting there going crazy. This is the craziest guy at the table, and he has not been very crazy. Usually you've got like 3 maniacs, 3 medium people, and 3 passives. I mean, it's not exactly like that, but I mean, statistically speaking, at these lower tournaments, you're going to have some maniacs that just get knocked out right away. I've got top pair. or middle pair, or yellow. Hope somebody gets that reference. It's just a flesh wound. Okay, so here's a fun and interesting thought. This guy's sitting out, this guy's sitting out. That means that this guy and this guy are on the blinds. This guy's kind of passive, this guy limped, so we can fold. It's just that easy. We can pretend he's on the blinds, and if he didn't limp, we could have shoved. And we would have been justified in doing so, because he limped in after this guy limped, which means he probably would not have called. But as soon as this guy shows an interest in the hand, there's no reason to continue playing. You don't have enough fold equity to make this hand profitable to shove with. Honestly, it's not generally profitable, except for the fact that these two guys have been very tight and very passive. So there's not a lot of chances that we're going to get called. And you can watch. Right now we have an average stack. We're a little bit above average relative to the table because 6 has just been stealing chips from everyone under the sun. And he's been doing it by showing down better hands too. He hasn't been, raising and winning pots. He won one pot that way. 2, 3. Okay, maybe I'm totally misrepresenting the table because he's only shown down one hand. 2 hands. But when he shows down hands, he's been good. So he could be bluffing at some pots. We'll keep tabs on him because maybe tight passive needs to be changed to tight aggressive. A tight passive player wouldn't be taking down that many pots. So let's upgrade him. And tight aggressive is definitely an upgrade. Anytime you're playing a style, aggressive is always better than passive. 7 is passive. 4 is aggressive. Aggressive is going to win more pots because when you bet, you always have the opportunity for your opponent to fold. And even, let's say they're folding 20% of the time you bet. That equals, I don't know, let's say a quarter more pots won. Okay, now when he's betting, you don't want to be in the hand. Oh, okay, unless you have aces. Yeah, then you do want to be in the hand with him. But I was saying, you don't want to be in the hand with 7 when he suddenly wakes up and starts betting at you without a really good hand. And of course, 4 had a really good hand. Later in the tournament like this, I mean, they should have gotten in pre-flop with that. So 4 is tight and passive. And of course, I could be wrong. I'm not paying attention as much as I normally do to what people are doing, what they show down with, what kinds of actions they take, what lines they take with certain hands because I'm talking so much. But limping in with aces, oh no, the min raise with aces. I mean, he should have just shoved all in. Of course, if people are paying attention, he's not going to get called. But that's why he should be shoving with other things other than aces. You disguise your aces by your other shoves, and that's another factor that plays into why you want to start shoving with wide ranges at 15 big blinds. You don't just want to wait for premium hands because then your premium hands are going to pick up the blinds and all your other hands are going to get folded. Whereas hopefully in this situation, 75 to 80% or maybe more of your non-premium hands are going to pick up the blinds, and hopefully when you do have the premium, that's when they call. But when you shove, 75 to 80% of the time, if you're shoving in the right spots, it's just going to get folded around. Maybe more than that. You can get as high as a 90% fold rate, which is ridiculous. Now that's in these tournaments where people don't know that you're shoving with weaker values and they don't know where they should adjust their ranges, where they should be calling with. Because if you're in the big blind or here's the big blind, but if you're in the big blind and this guy's shoving all in with any ace, you should be calling with ace 10. But most people won't call with ace 10. They won't call with ace jack. They'll call with ace queen or ace king. And so they're losing that little bit of an edge that they, and giving this guy a little bit of an edge if he knows how to play right and he's not calling with the right range. So unlike Go, and the interesting part of poker is it is a game of imperfect information. And this guy imperfectly sucked out to a split pot. Which that was pretty ridiculous. Let's look at it. Queen 5 suited. He's in the small blind. And I bet you this guy under the gun +2 raises. No, he just limps in. Okay, and then he limps. Then you get a king, and so he's drawing to a gut shot, and he big blind under the gun +2 checks with top pair, and I fold with 9-7 suited. So you have to pay attention to how people are shoving. So him, we called once and he had pocket 7s. That means we're not entirely certain that he's shoving with a really wide range. If we had called and he showed jack 4, then we can start to open up our calling range. When we know he's playing right, then we start to play right. But here, he's tight passive. We might get called with aces. If we do get called, we are really sad. But he could have ace king, and then we're not entirely sad. If he has any type of overpair, we're really sad. But he's not going to call often enough for us to not do that. If it gets folded around again, we're going to shove again. Now after that, we're going to leave these two guys alone for just a little while. We want to give them... Oops. I forgot I checked the fold button. Okay. Now watch. This guy's going to limp in. And then check. Check, check. It's like a heartbeat. Really slow heartbeat. Check. Really old guy. Okay. So he actually... he might have even limped in with an ace. There he is. Oh. This sort of play is much harder. It's much harder to explain to people why this is incorrect. When people are just like taking Queen 5 for a spin and sucking out all the time and all of that, it's easy for people to say, wow, that's ridiculous. But the other edge of the odds, 4-5, we're not... Honestly, our hand almost doesn't matter against these guys, because if they do call, they're going to have us crushed. Unless we have that crazy hand. And it just so happens that we've shoved with aces and they have kings, and they're like, oh, that didn't work out. Most of the time, they're going to have us crushed, and we're going to be a favorite to be waving goodbye to everybody at the table. But in the situations where they don't have that hand, they're not going to call us. And that's just who this type of player is. It works for them enough that they can't see that it's not correct, because the way that they lose is much more subtle. Now 8 hasn't been very aggressive. It's easy to go out on a limb before everybody folds, or before the guy calls with the crazy hand that has you crushed, like this guy. We're crushed. But in this situation, the only guy that we were really scared of was 7, and hopefully this guy has like ace king and it's hearts, or ace of diamonds, king of, okay, pocket 10s. That's not a good hand. And quads. Okay, so now we're down to 300, and pretty much it's any 2 cards. So here's the min raise. Min raise for all my chips. And we're just hoping that one of these guys doesn't call. If 9 calls, he could have the odds, and we might double up and be back in. Ooh, 7's still got a strong hand. He's probably got us beat. Oh, great. Ah, that was fantastic. He called with a bad hand. Again, oh, King Deuce would be a hand we're shoving with anything, but we have the slightest chance that somebody's going to get folded around. So once somebody comes into the pot, we're just going to wait for the big blind. Or if we're under the gun, I'd say, I mean, pretty much with any hand we can shove. Yeah, I think the math works better with shoving any 2 cards here as opposed to calling off here. The reason being, you do have the very slightest chance that everybody's going to fold. But since this guy's going to call no matter what we shove with, if we have something like 5-6 suited or something like that, we might just fold and wait for the big blind and just call off with any 2 cards there, because it's going to be a better strategy. We will have a chance to get a little bit of a better matchup. So let's see how this goes. Actually, this guy's on the big blind. He might fold, and 2 hasn't been ridiculous. So here's what you do. You take your shot. You're only a min raise. And really, yeah, I don't want anybody to call, but somebody's going to call. This is just too tempting. It's like, yum, couple of big blinds. He'll call with anything, I'm pretty sure. Oh, we gotta walk. That's not supposed to happen. That's not supposed to happen. But that's why shoving is better than calling. That's why you don't fold 9-7 offsuit there, because there is that chance that people are going to go, and they're just going to fold around to you, and you're going to get a chance to maybe people limp in here, and you get a chance to check. And okay, we'll stop talking about that particular possibility. Okay, so now the question is, do we call? So we're getting about 2-1 on our money, because we can't count his 845. We can only count 488 of that. So we have to subtract 350 from this. So we're 488 into a pot of like 900. So we're getting about 2-1 on our money. But 9 is likely to be pretty tight. So the chances of us having a hand like an overpair are pretty high. But if we fold, then we've got a total of 488 in our stack, and we're calling off with any 2 cards. Next hand anyway. Let's do it. You gotta take a chance. Gotta take a chance. Wow. Okay. That's not supposed to happen. Well, I mean, it happens a little bit less than 20% of the time. Now everybody at the table knows I'm certifiable. Okay, we're not calling here. Just in case you thought we was calling. Okay, so we had to hit a 1 and... what is that? I think it's 1 and 7.5. Let's look at it. 7.5 to 1. Poker hand odds. Did he have a spade? That kind of matters, but let's say he had a spade. So he had the over spade. 17.48. So, yeah, 4.5 to 1. Thought it was 7.5. Maybe that's... like aces versus sixes versus deuces. No, deuces are better to win than 5-4. Really? I didn't know that. Yep. And you would think they would say, man, this guy's crazy, I'm going to call him off. But tight passive players tend to play their own cards to the exclusion of your own strategy. They're not looking at what you're doing. Hold on just 1 second. The hot air just came on, and being in the great state of Kentucky, it is quite cold outside, and I just realized that I am cold. So I decided to crank it up about 2 degrees. See what that does. But yeah, coming from Houston to Kentucky and getting snow in November is quite a transition. For those of you who don't know about me very much, I do a KGS series where I play on KGS and I cast. I was disabled from my work as of February. I have chronic fatigue syndrome, so even though it sounds like I have a lot of energy today, and I can put forth a lot of energy in any one small amount of time, I tend to have very, very low energy, and that's what disabled me from my work, and that's one of the reasons we ended up in Kentucky. So it's been a transition in terms of the winter weather, which hasn't even really started here, and it's in a happy spot. Okay, so ace-6 suited. Let's go. These are tight passive players. This is the reason why I'm doing it. It may backfire. May backfire. If we double up one time, we're going to be way more likely to just sit there and raise when we're in position and things like that. But at 100, 200, we've got 8 big blinds. Yeah, and he's going to call with any 2 cards. And you can put that down into your strategy because you are going to have to face down with that guy. So actually that would have made me, if I thought about that, I don't have fold equity with the big blind. I'm going to be facing off with a hand somewhere, so I should be shoving a little bit more tightly. So yeah, I'm still learning about poker. It's all about getting that hand experience, analyzing the situations, seeing where you messed up, seeing where you made good plays, making good plays, hopefully, and continuing to improve your game. Excuse me, to study. Pocket tens is good for all in here. You're like, oh, we just, why are you so greedy? We just won a hand, but we're still only 11 big blinds. Okay, no ace. No ace, no 3. Jack would be good. Okay. Well, that was a good spot. That was a good spot. Getting called with ace-10 is really nice. Just one live card. So if you look at it, ace-10 versus 10-10. And the pocket 3s being there does change stuff, but you can see the pocket 3s are only 20% in that hand. So I'm over 50% to win that hand. I'll take that all day because those guys had like 3 big blinds apiece, or something. I mean, this guy had like almost 3, and this guy had like 2. So, yeah, that was a great, great, great hand. So now we're at 3209. Are we finished? No, we are not. And now we're going to be waiting way more for the dealer button, though. We're going to be way more in position because we're at 16 big blinds. But 10-9 suited, if it gets folded around to us, is a shoving hand. We don't have to worry about it. It's just, well, 10-9 suited against other players is not a shoving hand, but against, ooh, see, now we're not too much of a dog here. See, all we have to do is hit a 9. King Jack was not a good calling hand for him, and what that was he was just, this guy's been raising too much, he can't possibly have a hand, and not really understanding the odds of, he's flipping for his whole stack 60. The most he can hope for is 70% of that hand, because let's say I'm dominated, let's say I have 10 Jack, okay? See, and this is why King Jack is not as strong a hand as it looks. The 3s disappear. See, now he's 71% of the hand. So I win 1 out of 4 if I'm dominated. But if I'm not dominated, now I'm 2-1. So he's basically, after having played a nice conservative game, he is calling for at best 70% of the hand, and I still could have aces. And in that case, now he just threw away his whole tournament. So the way that his hand fits up against any 2 cards is, you can't call there with King Jack. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. I can shove with 9-10. He shouldn't be calling with King Jack. And we can see exactly why. I was 33% to take that hand. 1 out of 3 times I'm going to take that hand. And that was his second best case scenario. That's an average scenario for him. So now we're going to be selectively aggressive. Well, we don't have to do anything except be selectively aggressive. And I know we're on the dealer button. We've got 8-6. If he shoves, we fold. It's pretty simple. A lot of times, these 3 guys are going to be trying to make it into the money, and we're going to be able to bully them relentlessly and just continue to chip up. And a lot of times, even though I don't have to be as aggressive later in the tournament, once I start to see that they're really laying down, I just ramp up the pressure, slowly ramp it up until sometimes I just start raising every hand because they're folding so much. Okay, so now we have a chance to take good pot odds and a chance to hit a really nice flop and end the tournament. This is not that flop. I got my bottom pair, bottom pair, bottom pair. 200 really indicates that he does not have a good hand, but he could be trying to suck bet me. Now here I've got a full house, so I'm going to get it all in with him, and if he has a better hand, it's kind of how it is. I wonder if he had an ace, because if he had an ace, he had played that really passively. If he would have shoved on the flop, I could not call there. Could not call. I wonder if he, maybe queen high, and he's like, this guy doesn't have it. I'm just going to fold there, because I want to look at this. Pocket queens. Okay, so he had a good hand. The ace tripped him up, but he was unwilling to bet aggressively. He should have shoved pre-flop, and that would have eliminated all of those problems. So now he raises to 400. We just take our situations. Okay, ace comes. We are out of the hand. Even if he shoves, definitely out. if he does that piddly limp. Tell you what, I'm gonna let you two guys fight it out because it's really, really, really likely that with him betting that I don't have as good a hand. Okay, the 9 comes and he checks. Oh, it's a spade. So I think he has top pair. King, Jack, spades. I bet you he had top pair, but we're never gonna see that. All right, so you got to see how selective aggression you may end up in a place where you have to suck out. Um, in fact, I really did get lucky to win that tournament, but the aggressive strategy gave me a better chance in the long run than just sitting back and waiting for good hands would have done. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. I hope I learned something because I need to get better at poker if I'm going to become a winning player. Right now I'm kind of a break-even player. Um, I started a few months ago at 90. I made it up to almost 300. I got back all the way down to 100. Now I'm kind of ending back up. And what'll happen is I'll play rationally. I'll play good poker. I'll play with the odds. And then all of a sudden I'll hit this place where um, if I'm not feeling well physically or not feeling well emotionally, I'll still play, which is you should not be doing that, but I'll do it anyway, and I'll end up in a place where I just start losing and losing and losing. So I think I'm a better than break-even player when I'm on my game, and I'm definitely a worse than break-even player when I'm not on my game because I get fatalistic and I'm like, no, I can't believe that happened. And when I have my head on me, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what happens. That's called variance. Sometimes people do that. And when I don't feel well physically, it's hard for me to keep track of those small things I was keeping track of that allowed me to make the plays that I was making. And I end up in a place where I'm late in the tournament. I have no idea. I have no good table sense. I almost have forgotten because you get brain fog when you have chronic fatigue. And I almost have forgotten the whole tournament, and I've been kind of playing on autopilot because I'm playing half awake. And yeah, it's just not a good place to be, but I still play. So I guess that's my deal, and I hope you enjoyed the maybe lesson, possibly entertainment, and I hope you will watch again. Thank you very much.